Ekiri mu Parliament ya Uganda Kiteezi ababaka ba Parliament balumiriza gavumenti ya Museveni KCCA n'Abachina okuba mu lukwe lwa kasasiro ono eyagwiridde abantu ne bafa okuba okusaanawo bonna nga bagamba nti Abachina babadde wano nga bali mu kola gas oyo gwe babadde bakola baadde pipe kati gasi yapise kasasiro n'ayambuka mu bbanga n'akomawo n'agwira mu mbaga n'agamenya era abantu ne bafa abawerera ddala basoma 26 emirambo gyakaggiwayo kati n'olutalo lutabuse njagala tuze tugende mu Parliament tulabe embeera nga bweri nga balumiriza gavumenti ya Museveni okuba mu lukwe luno.
It is saddening, and I want to confirm that Kiteezi is a parish under Kasanga Town Council, the constituency being Kyadondo East. The affected villages of Lusanja, Kiteetika, and Masoli parish existed way back. Actually, by the time the landfill was commissioned or gazetted in 1996, Kiteezi and Lusanja existed, and the people had their own land. It is actually the landfill that found the people, not the people settling near the landfill. Right, Honorable Speaker and colleagues, it is saddening, just as we joined the Parliament, this particular Parliament, in September 2021, I petitioned the Parliament and government on this floor and informed the House and government of the worsening state and condition of the landfill. Actually, a few days after, I went to the landfill with the State Minister for Kampala and the Deputy Executive Director for Kampala. Water flooding from the landfill had taken away people's houses. Part of our demands was for KCCA to station standby engineers on site so that they could avert the flooding, maintain the landfill, and regularly caution or alert the neighbors in the event of any risk. Unfortunately, on Saturday, with no alert, with no proof of a standby KCCA engineer or technical person, it is reported and narrated by the witnesses, not even as reported by the media. The witnesses are reporting that it was a blast that blew up the sand and garbage in the air with the smoke, and then it came down covering people's houses. That's the narrative from the residents. They even continue to allege that for months they saw Chinese contractors installing pipes in the heap of garbage, because there were two heaps. There's a new heap and the old heap. Now the old heap is the one where the Chinese installed alleged pipes. And when the locals questioned, these Chinese briefed them, according to the narrative from the village, the locals, that they are extracting gas. KCCA must come out open. What were the Chinese doing? We don't want to imagine and assume that it was a mere slide by the landfill. There are more likelihood that it was either an accident or an intentional mistake or negligence by either the Chinese or even KCCA. And even if it was the contractors, it was in full knowledge of KCCA. No one has mentioned that, not even in the Prime Minister's statement. Equally, when this tragedy happened, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I beg for your indulgence because I'm the area MP, and I'm sorry for taking long, much as all of you have issues to add. Colleagues, when this tragedy befell, it is the locals who did the first and initial rescue using hands, hose, and pangas. We provided them with equally gloves. And every person reported to have been retrieved alive was actually retrieved by the locals, not government, not KCCA, not even police. When police came, they came with hundreds of servicemen, some in uniform, some ununiformed. By the time I arrived, I was there with the minister for disaster. The police themselves and some of their servicemen in plain clothes tried even to stop me from accessing. Of course, they had the prior knowledge that for us, we wanted to find out what were the Chinese doing. We wanted to dig out and identify the positions that had been reported by the locals. As we speak now, Honorable Speaker and colleagues, part of the complaint we are having on ground, true, there are so many agencies on ground, and true, we have held meetings, both with the minister, the prime minister, and so many other agencies. But one of the concerns that has remained a constant is that the rescue operations are only done during the day. From Saturday, it is even saddening that people had to die. They were buried beyond the garbage. KCCA and this government could not proceed with the rescue efforts overnight. I was there at midnight. People were still crying under the garbage. Because in the first rescue efforts, people were following up. Those who were knocking up and were digging those particular spots. The police and the militants chased us away. They chased us away, and I've been telling them and the minister that allow these locals to point at their houses. Maybe when you dig there, you can save some remaining lives. It has not happened. Honorable Speaker and colleagues, these are also human. What we had is a purported condolence message from Mr. Museveni, alleging that these are encroachers encroachers near the landfill. These are lawful owners with land titles. Majority are owners of Milo and some Bibanja owners. It is very saddening to find your people being branded encroachers after being killed by the state. Who was in charge of the landfill? Under which law do neighbors owe a duty to protect themselves against actions of a neighbor? Honorable Speaker and colleagues,
Order, honorable colleagues. Let the area member of parliament. I know emotions can run high on some of these situations, but let's listen. Honorable, you can try to conclude.
Right, Honorable Speaker and colleagues, our immediate prayer is for government to initiate rescue efforts day and night, because these are lives. We don't want to say we have lost all the hope, much as our hope has reduced. But at least rescue efforts can go on day and night. On Saturday, the minister was there, and KCC and other agencies. They promised to commence rescue efforts overnight, and pledged to offer light. I heard the Prime Minister, the minister thanking KCCA. They brought trucks for lights. When I went to the site around midnight, the generator for the lights was not working and functional, and neither was anyone standing by to even operate the machines. We are demanding that this rescue effort must be done day and night. Equally, for a number of our people who were injured during this crisis, We heard of condolences and support of 200, now 1 million. In this country, where can you get medication with a lost wound? Where can you get medication at 1 million? Let's talk about treating our people fully. Equally, when it comes to resettlement, it is true. There are some few houses which are closer to the landfill, and indeed they are at risk. But we are saying, as we discussed the question of resettling them in a tent, our people who had their own houses and land won't be resettled in the tents for the rest of their lives. We want a comprehensive approach that would talk about how do you compensate these people, where are they going. They cannot be taken to stay in the tents forever. These are people, some with families. When it comes to equally those in the tents, the tragedy befell on Saturday. The whole of Saturday, they had promised with the Red Cross and others to put a tent. Honorable Speaker and colleagues, the tent was placed in the night. Most of the victims had to seek shelter from neighbors. I was there overnight. And even when the tent was raised, the Minister for Disaster had promised that they're going to offer beddings and other items. They were only delivered yesterday, some of them. Just yesterday, and it befell on Saturday. Where is the preparedness of government? Because these are lives, and that's why the minister is mentioning a small number, because people don't see hope in going in that would be tent. They don't see any hope, because by Saturday, even when they raised the tents, there was nothing inside the tent. Even the toilet came 7 hours later, the portable toilet. And these are lives you are putting in a tent. Where is the preparedness and the urgency in rescuing and supporting these people? Honorable Speaker and colleagues, as I conclude, when it comes to the rescue efforts, part of the concerns of the locals is the security organs brought in their own people in plain clothes who they are working with. Those same people working with security blocked the rightful residents, including myself as the area MP initially, until it had to be the intervention of the minister and the IGP. And we are telling them we are the people who know. Indeed, the Prime Minister was embarrassed on the ground when she inquired from one of the people working with the police, and that person could not identify the relative he's looking for. There is a possibility that there are some people who are pressed to own bodies not belonging to themselves and want to understand what is being done at the mortuary to ensure that the bodies are handed to rightful relatives. Because there's a likelihood, and the same, and even those who are right, I interacted with one of the family which claimed that they were being charged to retrieve their body from the city mortuary. I brought it to the attention of the Minister for Kampala and the Prime Minister on the ground. We need a clear position and commitment that these people are going to be supported, compensated, and get their bodies for free. It is KCCA responsibility and government. Government must come out open and own up this saga and make a promise to compensate and fully compensate these people. As I conclude, Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues,
and I will conclude this time.
We are very sad. We are very sad as people of Kyadondo East. We are very sad as the people of Kiteezi and Lusanja, but I want to bring to your attention, Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, that a number of these victims are from your areas. Actually, when I was on ground overnight, I saw a family of 20 stranded outside, covering themselves and I got interested and inquired. They told me they had traveled from Mbale. Another family had traveled from Guru. And these people are saying that their family members are still missing, buried by the sun. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, when the Prime Minister visited Lusanja yesterday, I brought to their attention that some of these families are not from here, but they have come to identify their bodies. The rescue exercise has delayed. How do we support them? The Prime Minister said we cannot support them. These are your people. They are there waiting for bodies of their relatives. They traveled from your areas. They don't have a house. I pleaded with the Prime Minister that allow some of these people, I did just screen them and allow them to shelter in the tent because they are staying outside. When you see them, you may think they are residents of our area. No, they traveled from your own areas. You people here, you members here. When I brought to the attention of the Prime Minister.
Honorable Mwada, I know it's very emotional and all that, okay? But just conclude, please. Use 1 minute to conclude that point.
My prayer and my request is that even these people who traveled from distant areas must be supported. The Prime Minister rejected that proposal with the ministers, and I'm bringing it to your attention because they travel from your own areas. Who is going to support them? They are staying outside because the rescue effort is ongoing. They haven't received their own bodies. What should they do? And then lastly, the locals are requested to be allowed to identify positions of their own houses. Much as they were chased from the landfill, but they are saying they know the exact location of their houses. They wanted to support and assist the police. We requested that at least they identify one relative, one family member at a go. They take that member down to identify the location of their house. Because these excavators are going step by step. They may take months to reach. There are even some KCCA workers who are trapped in a KCCA small truck. They are still under the garbage. But KCCA is not speaking about it. There are some KCCA workers who are operating a smaller machine. They were also covered. The distance from where the excavators have reached to where they are is still long, and the coverage is not even a quarter so far in terms of the coverage. We must make all efforts and advocacy that the rescue is speeded up, and we support our people. It is very saddening, Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues.
Thank you. Now, Honourable Mwada, we join you and the rest of the community to pray for the souls of our colleagues and whatever can be done to support the rescue efforts. You know, even those who are risking their lives to carry out the rescue. Because as you've said, any time it can also fall on those ones. So we need to give more support to those who are carrying out the rescue and everyone who can make a contribution. Now, colleagues, from the submission of Honorable Mwada and the Minister for Shadow Minister for Kampala, I think I'll just first request for quick responses because some of the issues don't need to get lost into the major issues. No. Honorable Abdara, I know in your area that's where they are planning to take. So I will give you a chance. But let me first ask the Minister for KCCA because some of the allegations made need to be cleared on the spot. Then the Minister for Disaster also comes.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the Minister of Kampala in 2018 reported to government that Kiteezi landfill had reached to its capacity. There was need to decommission it at that time. Unfortunately, there was no resources allocated towards this activity. However, KCC went ahead to identify and procure land in Dondo. This such Kiteezi land is used by Mukono, Kampala district, Wakiso, and some other areas because Kiteezi is located in Wakiso district. So we share the landfill. Going forward, compensation, I think the Prime Minister talked about the compensation of those people, but this is still an emergency. We cannot talk about the compensation when we still have bodies down there. And we still to register all those people who are there. That's why we requested you boss to come on board to assist us, tell us how many people were there and how many should we, and how many are we expecting there. Because right from Saturday, they were telling us 1,000 people, 2,000 people. That is a small area. We don't know how many people were affected. My area MP has said that there was no person from KCCA for maintenance. But you've said, as you are ending up, that KCCA, the truck was also down there. So that means that statement cannot be true. There was the maintenance truck which was on board, which was also affected. We have not talked about it because it's still down there, and when we are counting, we also say our vehicle is still down there and our people are still down there, the KCCA people. Yes. About the Chinese who are on site, Right Honorable Speaker and members, I've not seen any Chinese on site, and I cannot comment on that. Those are just allegations. Because we don't have any investor around there by a Chinese. There is no Chinese there on site.
Information. I got confirmation from the
Honorable, information you're first allowed. You don't just grab a microphone. I know it's a sad moment for your area, but we must follow rules even in such a moment.
Right Honorable Speaker, KCC submitted requests for funding starting with the Ministerial Policy Statements 2018, 2019, 2020. Since then, the requests have been submitted every financial year. In 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, I myself came up with a policy statement, but nothing was done. We were referred back as unfunded priorities. The Parliament Committee recommended that an allocation of 20 billion be extended to KCCA in 2019-2020. A budget to enable authority commence on the proposed interventions, and that funding gap be spread over the multiple financial years. However, this remained as an unfunded priority. Right Honorable Speaker, I think at one time we even visited Kiteezi landfill with members of Parliament, and we thought maybe since they have seen the problems, they are going to assist us with the budget. But up to this time, nothing has been done. So our prayer is...
No, Minister, you don't have prayers from who? From your own government? You're the government. We need answers. We don't need prayers now from you.
Right Honorable Speaker, as KCCA, we have done a lot. We have talked to the investors, who are willing to assist us. First thing, if we cannot decommission this land, we have looked for investors, and right now we have 2 investors who are willing to work with us. But just the tariffs were a bit high, and we think if we work as Parliament and Cabinet, we can come up with a resolution. Others have not just been seated, have been working on this issue. We knew this issue since 2018, and it has been ongoing. It's Parliament and Cabinet to start working on that issue. But others were also sorry for what took place on Saturday, and we are going to work hand in hand with everybody to see that at least something is done.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Thank you. Minister for Disaster Preparedness.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, first of all, I want to respond to some few issues raised. Right Honourable Speaker, when we were on ground with the Member of Parliament, when I arrived and I found the Member of Parliament was being stopped, I intervened and inquired from the security. And they told me they didn't want the huge number of the team the Member of Parliament was moving with to access the areas which were dangerous, because those people would also be at a risk. And that is why they were stopping him. And later on, when he talked to his team, they stayed back, he came on board, and we continued working together. Right Honourable Speaker, issues of disaster requires emergency response. And sometimes, when something has just happened, and that's why I did mention that I want to thank the locals in that area. There was shift to come in and respond. As on the side of government, we had to assemble a team, because the Ministry of Disaster doesn't respond alone. The Ministry of Works came on board, UPDF and the rest came on board, and that's how we were able to execute what we did. Now, the tents that was temporarily provided is to provide shelter to those whose homes were affected and didn't have where to go. And we realized it would be very important that food is provided for them immediately. And Right Honorable Speaker, I delivered food that very day. The items, the non-food items that the Member of Parliament talked about could not be distributed immediately because we needed to mobilize people to come, to pass information to them. And when I held a meeting with the local leaders, requested them to give directions to the people, let them know that there is a tent provided for them. They rolled on and continued mobilizing. People kept on coming. And today, right now, as I speak, Right Honourable Speaker, we have 85 people in the tent. And the number still continues to increase. We are going to continue providing them food and all the necessary requirements. As government looks into the details of the compensation, how it will be done, work on the list, because these are things you can't rush into doing it, because you need a clear data of those who are affected. Right Honourable Speaker, 100,000 being charged at the mortuary is not true. When I got this information, I got in touch with the officer at the Ministry of Health, and he said if anybody is asking for money, it could be conmen. I shared the contacts of the person at the mortuary with the local leaders and told them if anybody asks for money, they should let me know. If there is anyone who has been asked for money, I really request that you give the details and that money will be refunded. Right Honourable Speaker, finally, I just want to make this clear that as we speak now, the Prime Minister is chairing a meeting on how we can handle issues of compensation and the welfare of our people who are affected. And I want to conclude by asserting that government and the Office of the Prime Minister is still committed to doing everything it takes that our people who are affected in Kiteezi are supported amicably. I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Songa. Our honorable colleagues in the public gallery this afternoon, we have a delegation from the Uganda Alcohol Industry Association. They include Miss Jackie Takanizibwa, chairperson, Miss Prudence Ukonika, CEO of Better Wine and a member, Mr. Wilson Manashimwe, member, and Miss Berinda Katuramu, member. They are here to listen to the debate and second reading of the Alcohol Control, Drinks Control Bill 2023. Please join me once again in welcoming them. Thank you. Honorable Songa.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker and honourable members. It is now very clear that waste management in Uganda is a big challenge. It is having impact on the economy, on security, health of the people, and well-being. My committee of climate change had a long meeting with the KCCA over this Kiteezi landfill, to the extent that we even went to the field together with them. Our advice was very clear to them that they needed to fast-track the decommissioning of Kiteezi landfill. It is very unfortunate that up to now it has not taken place. But I must assure you that Uganda is losing a lot of money due to waste-related issues. About £1 trillion shillings annually due to waste-related issues. Because what we have in Kiteezi is not a landfill. What we have in Kiteezi is a dumping site. I don't see any landfill in Uganda. A landfill must have full landfill engineering technology, and which we are not doing. And then amount of waste, that waste can be turned into wealth. We have methane there, which can be tapped and be used. We have so many other gases that can be tapped and be used. We even recommended that investors should be encouraged to come and tap that waste so that we can use that money to turn that waste into energy. And this is what we agreed as a country. But the speed at which these things are taking place is so slow. Then number two, there are a number of projects, including projects from the World Bank, which were implemented for waste management in Kampala by KCCA. If you do tracking of those projects, you are likely to see that the monies were not well spent on waste management in Kampala. And that is why today we are suffering the impact of the waste management in Kampala. This is an early warning and a learning point to us, because these wastes are already blocking our channels, causing a lot of floods and health-related issues. Another early warning which I must give as I present on this Kiteezi landfill is the wetlands in Luzira and Port Bell. Should you remove that wetland and that in Luzira and Port Bell, you will see the waters of Lake Victoria coming to Kampala. All these hills, one day, you will see them in the island. I really want to give this early warning the same way we gave early warning on Kiteezi landfill. So, fast track. Honorable members, my prayer is that we must fast track the alternative land, and the alternative land must have a fully fledged landfill engineering. Although landfill is outdated, but in Africa we can still use if it is with the engineering. And then the materials which we can tap from there, like methane, carbon dioxide, we can tap them and turn the waste into energy. That Kiteezi landfill can generate about 6.5 megawatts of electricity, the same size of Nyagak 3. So you see the material we are spending in Nyagak 3, and yet we can tap electricity from here, 6.5 megawatts. So we really, and then it brings me to the issue of corruption. There are many investors who are coming to the Ministry of Energy. They want to turn waste into energy. When they charge, like, when they give the cost of doing that business, some people want to that figure inflated. That should stop if we really want to manage this economy. I want to thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Kajwenje, Honorable Teira, Honorable Abdara Chwanuka.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. I have listened to the Minister of State for Disaster Preparedness. I have also listened to colleagues, and truly, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, this is a disaster. My question to the Minister and the Minister for Kampala, I have not heard anywhere the two statements address us on policy. Where is our policy on waste management and disposal? Right Honorable Minister, it's not only Kampala. There is Kiteezi waiting to happen in every other city around this country, in every other municipality and trading center and town council. Where is our policy in as far as waste management is concerned? And if we cannot manage Kiteezi, which is a national disposal, a national center for disposal, then how ready are we to manage other Kiteezis in other areas? Right Honorable Speaker, let me say this. And this policy would now point us to planning and budgeting and adoption of modern waste management and disposal. I have seen, because when it rains in Uganda, because waste is just dumped, it's not inside, it is carried away. We end up inhaling and drinking this dirty water. So the disaster management policy must be highlighted here, and this is the place for it. This is what we should be demanding, not budget, because budget must point to a policy, must point to a plan, must point to a strategy that we must fund. Incineration. Our town councils, Right Honorable Speaker, majority of the waste that we have in Kampala is actually transported from up country. Why should we bring in pills to Kampala agricultural things, if that policy was there, that would be managed at source. I want the minister and the two ministers to address this House on the policy formulation and disposal. I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Taylor.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, on 3 separate occasions, we have presented potential investors who are willing to turn the Kiteezi site into energy, which was going at less than half of what Bujagali is selling to the national grid. We were directed to do feasibility studies, and every presentation, KCCA has deliberately thrown away these people.
Who is that one? We were Honorable Taylor, a company associated with.
Right Honorable Speaker, I am a legal service provider in this country, and we have presented these people to KCCA formally, but they have continuously rejected anybody who comes in to develop Kiteezi. I don't know what the intention and the motivation is, but this should be really clearly put out in the open. There have been several people who have wanted to develop that area. They have been frustrated by KCCA up to today. Right Honorable Speaker, can we have this clarified, whether they want those investors or not?
Thank you. Honorable Abdallah, Honorable Christine, Honorable Mero.
Thank you. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I concur with the submission of my colleague Taylor.
Procedure, Honorable Innes? No, there is a procedure matter. Just, Honorable, take your seat. There is a procedure matter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You earlier guided that we should look at how to resolve the matter, but not in the blame game, because at this point we need to find solutions. But when you look at the debate, it's taking a direction of what happened, what was not done right. Are we proceeding right, Mr. Speaker? To keep debating on what never went wrong, and we do not find solutions, because I want to support my honorable colleague, the area MP. He made a very precise and well-articulated statement with all the details that we want to know about this. I think it will be prudent. We allow government to give us answers to that, or find solutions that can put this matter to rest for now, instead of us blaming and blaming and blaming. Honorable Speaker, are we moving right? Or can we also, Mr. Speaker, push the ministry or the government to give us a detailed investigative report on who went wrong, who never did what, and then possibly we can debate that instead of us blaming and blaming without having precise answers. I'm seeking your guidance, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Now, honorable colleagues, I know, of course, even when you're in my position here, this is a very delicate situation where emotions are high and all that. But what Honorable Enos is raising is simple, that we should debate while contributing on how we can handle the emergency. For now, we handle issues of the emergency. Because I know this issue requires extensive investigations. You have heard like the issues raised by the Honorable Mwada. They are not issues you cannot just either take on their face value or dismiss when there are issues being raised by the community. So all these issues need to be investigated. So can we, honorable colleagues, can our debate help guide in as far as handling the emergency situation for now is concerned? And then I will guide at the end on what we are going to do. Honorable Abdallah Chiwanuka.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I represent Mukono North, which is 22 kilometers from Kampala via Gayaza Road, when you take that route. And the immediate parish, that is Dondo, which is bordering Mukono and Chira municipality. It is a densely populated parish, and 10 years back when KCCA purchased this land, it very well knew that the area has people. They were never notified about their intention to use the land. The land was gazetted as purely a residential area And we are imagining shifting disaster from Kampala to our area. We don't know how the government does its work, but few weeks back we are here debating about the forceful eviction which happened in Rubiji. Now here is the catastrophic eviction which is happening at Kiteezi. The way forward, Honorable Minister, Dundu is purely gazetted by Mukono District as a residential area. We are ready to accommodate those people. You shift them to Dundu and retain the land, shift all the machines to Kiteezi, then shifting the problems. As you are cleaning Kampala, you are dirtening Mukono. We can't contemplate, and we are not ready to receive and accept your garbage and waste. That is the position of. It is very unfortunate, Right Honorable Speaker. We tried several times to engage the minister, to engage the directors at KCCA. Several people, as Honorable Taylor has stated it, are ready to invest in West. Are ready, and they are approaching us, ready to invest in the West. But the investment which the government is willing to accept, for example, in power, the tariff is 5 cents. Colleagues, you are well aware that Kachira contributes on the national grid, and they are contributing at 8 cents, and recently Karuma at 18 cents. Why this one frustrating this investment at 5 cents? You can easily know that.
Karuma at 18 cents? I think you need to get your facts right.
I'll cross-check that. Honorable Speaker.
Karuma shouldn't be more than 5 US cents per kilowatt hour.
Yes,
4.7 US cents per kilowatt hour, not 8.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for that correction. So, as a way forward, we have already proposed in the compensation mode to shift these people to Dundu on that land which is purely gazetted as a residential land, and you also do a survey with Singapore. We have some few years back, we are ahead of Singapore. Singapore, how it has managed to do with waste management. We can take a field visit to Singapore, or even in Rwanda, how they have managed it. Some people here had to compare us with Rwanda, but please accept and you go and you learn some few lessons from Rwanda, how they have managed to do with waste. Maybe with that we can, even you don't need big land. You can do that management at 10 acres, even if it is a big city like Kampala. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable. Question?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, it is unfortunate that we lost all those people, and this is a human-induced disaster, a human-induced landslide. And Right Honorable Speaker, I want to report to the House that we have the Healthcare Waste Management Guidelines, the E-Waste Management Guidelines, the Sector Strategy for Organic Waste Management Guidelines, we have the WASH Guidelines, and the only challenge is the enforcement of these guidelines. Right Honorable Speaker, NEMA in 2020 advised the KCCA, actually it was reminding them that they had refused to renew the licensing of the activity by 2013. And 2020 they were reminding them not to allow further garbage disposal because the leakage treatment plant was not fully operational at that place. The effluent discharged was going direct to the water streams, and then there was no regular monitoring of effluent and the receiving environments. I mean the receiving environment. So NEMA had advised by 2013, from 2013, the contractors were not licensed to continue using the landfill. So, Right Honorable Speaker, NEMA does not have enough money to enforce, But in the environment and impact assessments of these contractors, they pledged that they would fulfill some of the requirements using their money. So we are wondering, if they did not use the money to fulfill the requirements, Right Honorable Speaker, I don't believe in a blame game, but there must be some people responsible for compensating the loss and losing some of their monies and also losing their jobs and also losing the contracts. So there are some responsible institutions that have to report back to us. Right Honorable Speaker, Kiteezi, with all the standards, is not a landfill. And I have shared the NEMA regulations on landfill on your WhatsApps, you can check. And if you try to qualify, actually, in Uganda we don't have any appropriate landfill. And let's use this scenario to check ourselves and even check in our local governments. Because this is an eye-opener. We don't need to lose more people. Right Honorable Speaker, we are supposed also to go in some preventive mechanisms. Waste collection at source. All of us must go and sensitize our people on the need for us to collect garbage while separating this garbage. We cannot look at these technologies that our colleagues are proposing when we still have the catchment of waste in totality. Plastics must be different, organic waste must be different, but when you go to Kiteezi, actually those Chinese were collecting Buvera. That's what they told me. That is why even why KCCA doesn't. They were collecting plastics like any other company. So it is very important at the moment to look at the budget over enforcement of some of these provisions, especially to NEMA and the KCCA. Every time NEMA was reminding KCCA, KCCA would respond that there are no funds. And so we are supposed to take waste management as as a priority for the city. Likewise, the issue of sewage management. We always talk about National Water and Sewerage Corporation, but most of our emphasis has always been on water and little on sewage. These are national issues. As climate change activists, we cannot leave our community to be exposed to methane to this level. Now the eruptions were underneath. What could happen if the eruptions were in the atmosphere? Members, this is a challenge to all of us, and let's task all our institutions to be responsible, and also our practices from household level as the source of garbage to be cognizant of waste management. I thank you.
Honorable Mero, then Honorable Mapenduzi.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I condole with the families that have lost. And I want to thank the area MP for standing with his people. The government on the other side for the efforts that you have put in place. However, I have some questions that I would like to ask. While in this house, a colleague said that Parliament has not given enough attention. We gave money to KCCA to purchase the Dundu land, but I want to ask, what are our priorities in this country? Do we have to buy land before we do a feasibility study to see that what we intend to establish in that place can stand the test of time? Because now the 134 acres in Dundu is idle for all those years that have been in this house. And now we are having the Kiteezi problem, which they had promised by the time they were pushing the committee to give the money, which we worked very hard to get the money to buy that land in Dundu. What are our priorities? Has the National Planning Authority failed in this regard or what? So I'm just asking, Mr. Speaker, if government could do the right thing at the right time, I think we should be very fair. We have the best laws in these countries, but implementation has failed just because of one thing: corruption. Corruption. And I want to request that KCCA be held accountable. They should come and account to this house where they put the money they received from here, because we can't take part of this blame to say that the house did not give money. No. We looked at it and thought it was a good idea. We visited Kiteezi, we visited Dundu, where the land is. What has happened? We got their graders. What happened? That they did not decommission and start using the other land. Mr. Speaker, there's a challenge, and if we're fighting corruption, we should not fight corruption haphazardly. Let's fight corruption from the root. This business of apportioning blame cannot work here. I think we need to learn how to put our priorities the right way. What is priority is put as an unfunded priority, and what is useless is where we put in money, which doesn't benefit the local people. It is very painful because these people who have died, you don't know where they are coming from. Some of them are from our places. But even if they are not from our places, they are human beings, they are entitled to life. What were we doing to decommission this place? Mr. Speaker, I beg that KCCA be investigated and they thoroughly declare where they put money. Because we bought that land at a very high price than expected. I beg to submit.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I would like to thank the Honourable Minister for Disaster for giving us a report that shows that the steps being taken. And I condole with the families and the rest of the country. Honourable Speaker, this unfortunate occurrence should help us as a country broaden our perspective. Just like it has been stated, Honourable Speaker, I have been to many districts and local governments, and the problem of waste management is real across the country. Honourable Speaker, I will give you the example of Gulu, where every time local governments are struggling and they're not even able to manage waste. And sometimes when you approach them, they tell you, we do not have resources. Even when they have planned, they have a budget, it is extremely difficult for them to get the resources because of what we have in the law. Resources generated, sent to the center, and getting it back is a struggle. We need to deal with that. But the other problem, Right Honourable Speaker, is the question of how we look at the issue of health and safety. Right Honourable Speaker, I want to believe that such a facility, before it is established, there could have been an environmental and social assessment carried out, impact assessment. I want to give you another example. There are many projects across the country where people's lives have to be protected. But because there is laxity, because people do not take their work seriously, we continue to lose lives. Recently in Gulo, a barrow pit that was dug by some Chinese company. Even after doing environmental and social impact assessment, they were supposed to restore. You find these pits are not restored, so there is a problem across the country. And for me, Right Honourable Speaker, I would think that as we look at solving this problem, we need to hold the people responsible accountable. By now, some people should be in jail and others should be losing their jobs. For how long are we going to continue losing lives as a result of negligence and the failure to do what we are charged to do? So, Right Honourable Speaker, this is a sad situation, but it should help us to reflect deeply and begin to take our jobs seriously. Thank you.
Thank you. Rita or Honourable Kwaringa.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. It is very clear to us that today it's me, tomorrow is someone else. And in my language, I can loosely translate to say that when a stick beats your co-wife, you actually are supposed to burn it into ashes, because you could be the next target. Right Honourable Speaker, one of the things that has actually missed from the minister's statement is the nature of the emergency of the state of the road to Kiteezi. I'm even wondering, how did they get there to rescue the people? The road is in such a terrible state that it's an emergency itself. For over 7 years, those garbage trucks go throwing garbage, and now they are diverting to pass to Chanja, spreading the methane and all the dirt. Honorable Minister, due respect for the work you've done, but that is one thing you have missed and you ought to track it. Secondly, I think we all need to be true to ourselves. You pass in the city, KCC now has just had a project where they are putting little bins alongside the road. It's a shame how money can be wasted. The basics of waste management, if cannot come from KCCA, you wonder who will follow. Nobody. It is very clear, my sister here, Christine, has said it. You should set up a learning example. Put bins that separate garbage in its different categories. But if you can't do that, which other Ugandan will do it in their home? So the question for me, after all the cries, Kiteezi has been on the red flag. I live along that road for as many years as possible, but you still fail government and make us look bad. So you should be held accountable. And as I conclude, Right Honorable Speaker, I said we should ban this stick right here. Mbarasite now, we are in disarray. The Kankombe dumping site, the people have chased us, including where we bury people. So if Kampala, that is an attraction of an international level, what will happen to us? Mbarara, Rira, Nakasongora, that is yearning to have a city. So I think every coin must be accounted for. For me, I have no kind words for KCCA. We need to see you act. The people have died. We need, Right Honorable, to come here with an action plan. If we can have Kira Motors in this country produce a bus, why can't we manage our waste? Because unfortunately, we are no longer going to be killed by natural disasters. No. We are now going to be killed by man-made degrading of our motherland. When Mother Earth cries, it's unstoppable. So I would like to implore you, Right Honorable, that you save us to come here again. Government should produce an action that translates into a budget. At least we have one plant that can process our waste, and we are losing opportunities for jobs for young people. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Right Honorable.
Thank you, Honorable Kwaringa.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. Right Honorable Speaker, whereas I would like to thank the President for the assistance at least he has given to the families, those that have lost their loved ones. But there's one thing that the Minister highlighted, that they were unable to identify some of the dead. So I wanted to find out from the Honorable Minister whether they have any plan of conducting a DNA on some of those bodies, because you may find maybe those who have already been identified, those who are already dead, could be the owners of those children who are also dead. So you need to do some DNA. Then secondly, whereas we are discussing the issue of garbage, there is also an impending disaster on sewage management. You discover that many of our family homes, if not all of them, are having septic tanks. In modern states, there is a better way of doing it. So I would like also to explore the House to see how they can, as the Minister reports here next, with maybe a comprehensive report, they should also be addressing the issue of sewage management. And then lastly, Right Honorable Speaker, I know and I'm aware that these companies that are involved in collecting garbage from our homes do charge a fee in order to help us collect that garbage. But I don't know, is there any arrangement that government takes advantage of that money collected to see how to use it for managing the waste somewhere? Because they are charging us, but I don't know, government is providing land for them to dump this waste, but I don't know what is the leakage. Is it just on the issue of just annual payments or what? So that's what basically I wanted to say, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. Honourable Muwuma, Honourable Semuje.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, condolences to the affected families. Mr. Speaker, yesterday, after attending the National Youth Day celebrations in Soroti, I traveled to Iganga to join the family that lost one of their own under the Kiteezi incident. But, Mr. Speaker, I've attentively listened to the Minister for Disaster Preparedness on the support that was given. Mr. Speaker, as I was in Sorota, I kept receiving calls from that family. They were asking for support on how to see off the young man that died in Kiteezi, a certain Kayeyera Emmanuel that we buried yesterday. When I hear that our good president released 5 million shillings in support of seeing off the fallen lives, it is perturbing. I want the minister to clarify who received this money, because even now the family is asking, is there any support? There was no message from government. We have RDCs all over the country. If at all we are burying people who have died under such situations, can we dispatch teams or call RDCs in our respective districts, say, can you relay the government's message, say that you are seen to be touched and concerned about these lives? But specifically, Mr. Speaker, I want clarification on who received this 5 million for a Kayeyera, because they just ask, give us the particulars of that person before you take the body. And the particulars were provided. That was the end of everything. So when they said they gave 5 million, the other family is lamenting there's no support that was given. I need that record cleared on the answer. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Honourable Semuje, Honourable Nduwarano.
I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first I sympathize with the colleagues who accept to be appointed ministers. Why do I sympathize? The minister for Kampala, when you asked her to respond, she was as crying as any other member of this parliament. We did this, we did this, we did this. I don't know why you accept to be ministers in a government like this. And I am saying this deliberately, Mr. Speaker, because I have seen here, I have seen the Vice President and the Prime Minister, after their appointment, going to Gulu to thank General Sale. You all have contributed to creating this disaster of one man taking every decision. That's why all of you here, Cabinet, you are here crying. Why don't you convene a Cabinet meeting and take a decision? You come to Parliament to cry. So what do you want us to do? Mr. Speaker, Kiteezi was one of the villages I represented in the 9th Parliament. The solution cannot be transferring that particular problem to Mukono, as my colleague, the Honorable Abdullah Chiwanuka, has said. People who live in Kiteezi, even before the death, because the waste you put there is not processed, it has attracted all the dogs in the world, all the flies. The trucks that carry garbage from Kampala maybe are supposed to be carrying firewood. They go dropping garbage from every point. The Honorable Chiwanuka Abdallah says he doesn't want a garbage to be taken, but they will be passing through my constituency. We will also stop you because we don't want to be turned into another side. Because by the time these trucks reach Kiteezi, they have dropped 10% of the garbage along the way. That's why that whole area smells. And the road from Gayaza goes through to my constituency to Mukono North. Please find another way. Maybe you can ask the president to offer his job, because we will not allow you to use our villages on your way to Mukono. Mr. Speaker, I have visited National Water. They process and actually turn the fish into fertilizer. I have visited 2 of their sites. What stops you from acquiring equipment to process this garbage that you go and post there? Because that's all that you are doing. And Mr. Speaker, finally, this disaster, the Honorable Mwada has reported here, even when I was the MP for the whole area before it was subdivided, I came here and cried. The World Bank has early. Yeah, for us, we can only cry, we are not in the government. I am only surprised that even government people cry. Because it's understandable, the Honorable Mwada can cry. But when the Minister of Kampala joining him in crying, then you wonder who is in charge. So the World Bank that sponsored that dump site recommended in a report written more than 5 years ago, please decommission. The minister says, we have also been saying the same thing. I don't know where we should go. So the point I am making, finally, Mr. Speaker, first, I don't think it makes sense to transport garbage from Chengera, from Entebbe, from everywhere, and move in one direction. We need to start, because we don't have a landfill, my proposal would be to spread them, to decentralize this service, such that people on Masaka Road can find a place there. People on Mitiana Road can find space there. But otherwise, this disaster has killed people. But you don't know how many people are now diseased as a result of dropping garbage almost at every point from Kampala to Kiteezi. We may not have done a research. Maybe that needs to be done also. Because I should have appealed to government to do something. But I don't know who I should ask there, because they are also crying. Maybe, Mr. Speaker, you will be the one to go to speak to the one person who runs this country on our behalf. Because you see, the moment it's not only garbage, everything, once it comes to the time of decommissioning and you don't decommission, it's a problem. Even the NRM itself, I think the time to decommission it came long ago. These problems that we are seeing now as a result of not decommissioning NRM at the right time. So we are now paying the price. This is just one illustration, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank you very much.
Okay, now I can say why Semuja and team have decided to decommission FDC. Oh, Honorable Guzuri is not happy with that. Yes, I had allowed Honorable Christine.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, we are all feeling sorry for what happened in Kiteezi. But the problem is on waste segregation. As my colleagues have been saying, we need to segregate waste. But even if we do that without following the right procedures, I don't think anything is going to be done right. In hospitals, we have medical wastes, but we have incinerators where wastes are burnt and they phase up. But here in local government, I think SCCA is failing to manage the wastes. It would be prudent if wastes are collected and they are burnt, or maybe if we can get bigger incinerators where wastes can be collected and burnt, instead of just collecting them and leaving them to make bigger heaps. When you look into this, these wastes are going also to cause different diseases to these people in Kiteezi, because Kiteezi is a slum area. We are focusing on these other people who are nearby the dumping area where the incidents occurred. But then how about these other people who are in the nearby villages? They are going to end up getting typhoid, malaria, dengue fever, and so on. And this, as Honorable Christian was talking about the recycling, it should stop, because these Chinese whom they were talking about, they were going to pick plastic wastes, but they end up recycling bottles of mineral water, and it comes back to the public. The TB is at a high increase, and because of these plastic bottles, which are not sterilized, they just wash them and they are brought back to the public. And lastly, Right Honorable Speaker, we are also getting the same problem in Bukomansimbi district. I don't know how we are going to be helped, because the town council is full of wastes and they are also making higher heaps. So people are going to get diseases, and the same incidents may also happen in our area. I thank you, and I
Dr. Wanka, Honorable Nambeshi.
Thank you. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, government put
ekiri mu parliament y'eggwanga kyekyo. Buli omu ali mu kunyolwa, buli omu ali mu kukaaba, buli omu ali mu kudaaga olw'abantu baffe abaafiiridde obwemage. Kino banaye tekyandibaddewo, kino tekyandituuse wano. Naye olw'okubanga gavumenti yatuuka dda okugibwamu ekyo ekifo, ensonga kitubonaabona nga tetwagijjaawo. Kati obuzibu bwe tulina bakujjawo gavumenti ya Museveni etafaayo, takyalina birowoozo bijja bipya. Yo elowooza ku kimu kubeera mu ntebe, ebirala tebigikwatako, oba mufudde oba kasasira egyatatawana gye mumusuula tebigikwatako. Eggwanga lyaffe likyafu lwa bukulembeze. Amawanga gano gye tujja tuyayaanira gye twagala ennyo okubeera mayonjo lwakuba bakulembeze bapulaningira bulungi ensi zino. Tewali maka woogenda oba tewali kyalo kyogendako mu nsi ezaakulaakulana nga tewaliwo bipipa bya njawulo nga bitereka kasasiro wa njawulo, ng'eccupa tuziteeka wano, emmere tugiteeka wano, engoye tuziteeka wano, byonna nga byawukana. N'emmotoka bw'ejja okutwala eba erina departments ez'enjawulo, oba zijja emmotoka ez'enjawulo nti eneetwala mmere, eneetwala ngoye, eneetwala macupa, eneetwala byuma, nga buli kimu kirina department yakyo gye kikwataganamu gye kigenderamu, era nga bakiteeka waakyo. Ne wano ebyuma, engoye, ebyatika, masuwaani, esepiki, byonna batwala Kiteezi. Noganda Kiteezi mutwalayo byaki ebyo byonna. Tumanye nti tulinawo ekifo tuteekawo mmere, endagala, miziŋŋoonyo, biki ebyo ebivunda, nga tubiteekaawo nga bivunda, nga tubiteekamu akantu nga tubyanguya okuvunda, nga tubikolamu maniwa, nga tutwala mu kyalo ng'abantu bateeka mu mmwanyi, bateeka mu nsuku ng'emmere edda. Tumanye nti wano ekifo tuteekawo macupa gagenda kukola ki ABCD, wano tuteekawo byuma bigenda kutwalibwa mu scrap biddemu bikolebwe ABCD, bikolemu mitayimbwa na kino. Singa bino ebintu byanguwa, naye obukulembeze waffe bwe bufu. Obukulembeze bwe bufu, totale bufu. Mukama abakuume.